Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Lee Finnegan and Sheila Carter stood silently by Luna's bedside, their expressions displaying a mix of resolve and relief. Luna's eyelids opened and she gradually fixed her attention on the strange shapes in her hospital room, the world she had been missing for what seemed like an eternity was the clean white walls, the buzz of machines, the quiet beeping. Luna briefly had trouble figuring out where she was, who these people were, and how she got to be in this weird situation. Confusion, panic, and an overpowering blackness were the last things she recalled. But now that she was beginning to regain awareness, the truth of her predicament struck her hard but
gently.
She was still living. She was conscious. She wasn't alone either. Luna's gaze fell on Lee, who was seated closest. At that crucial moment, her face serene and gentle, Luna's eyes flickered with something profound and deep, and she muttered, "Mom," without
fully understanding why.
Fragile but full of hope, the single word lingered in the air.
The implicit faith in that
one word, which Lee knew Luna sorely needed, made her heart tighten. Even though Lee wasn't Luna's biological mother, she nevertheless experienced the same level of devotion and suffering. Sheila was a steady presence next to Lee, her stance soft yet protective. Despite the tension and darkness that had characterized their past, they were now united. Both women were aware that Luna's path ahead would be paved with obstacles, emotional turmoil, and tough decisions. However, they vowed to support Luna, to defend her, to guide her, and to be the family she needed during this delicate new phase of her
life.
Lee reached out and took Luna's hand in hers as her breathing calmed and her eyes became more attentive. "Luna, you're safe now. We're here with you," Lee whispered quietly, her voice acting as a calming salve against the chaos that threatened to overtake Luna's thoughts. Sheila took a step forward and nodded in agreement. With a firm and earnest tone, she assured him, "We'll help you get through whatever you need." As Luna attempted to make sense of everything, the coma, the people in the room, the feelings that were surging inside of her, her lips quivered.
She
couldn't stop asking herself, why was
she here?
These women were who, and why was she drawn to Lee in an odd, inexplicable way? She longed for answers and hoped for assurance, and her heart hurt for both. "You have every right to be scared and confused," Lee remarked, giving Luna a gentle squeeze on the
hand.
"We'll approach this step by
step.
We will respond to your inquiries and assist you in your physical and spiritual recovery. We're not going anywhere, Luna," Sheila continued.
"You
no longer have to deal with this alone." Luna felt a glimmer of hope after hearing those words. Even though she didn't fully comprehend what was ahead, she felt the warmth of support and the promise of protection after being so lost and alone. And that was the decisive factor. The three women's friendship became stronger over the next few days as Luna recovered. By her side, Lee and Sheila alternated, telling stories, responding to inquiries, and tactfully bridging the gaps in the past. They talked about the new beginning Luna had been given, the opportunity to take back her life, mend her relationships, and find her place in a world that had moved on without her. In addition to the medical procedures and recuperation that lay ahead, Luna listened, sometimes with tears in her eyes, sometimes with silent resolve. She discovered that Lee had supported her treatment and fought to keep her safe during her worst hours. Despite her complexity, Sheila had a tender side that wished to make amends and be a good influence in Luna's life. Lee and Sheila pledged to help her through her recuperation and beyond. Through every setback and every victory, Luna discovered that she was depending on them more than she had ever imagined. From a single muttered phrase, the brutal trust developed into a solid foundation, and even though there were still unsolved concerns about the past and an uncertain future, Luna felt hope, something she had nearly forgotten. In the weeks that followed, Lee and Sheila's promise was realized in innumerable small acts of kindness, silent afternoon laughing, steady presence during times of uncertainty, and soft support when Luna struggled. Together, they guided Luna through the complex feelings that came with awakening to a different world, reassuring her that family was about more than biology. It was about love, devotion, and weathering the storms. Together, Luna's spirit also returned, along with her strength. With Lee and Sheila's help, she started to imagine a time when she would be able to live fully once more and be freed from the confines of her coma. The three ladies bravely and resolutely confronted that future together, vowing that Luna would never have to face it alone, no matter
what.
The promise given to her by Sheila, Carter, and Lee Finnegan took on a deeper meaning every day as Luna gradually recovered her strength. Her awakening was only the start of a long and emotional journey. The horror of the coma, the days and weeks of lost time, the mystery of how she got into this hospital bed, and the tremendous need to reestablish herself in a world that had not been waiting for her were all too much to grasp. However, the silent, unwavering presence of Lee and Sheila, who made it apparent right away that Luna was no longer alone, remained constant throughout the ambiguity. Lee would be the first person to reach Luna's bedside in the peaceful early mornings when the hospital was still, calm, and the gentle light was streaming in through the windows. Her composure, which was a result of years of medical knowledge and a strong resolve to protect this young woman who had endured so much, was exactly what Luna needed. Lee would gently sit and ground Luna in the here and now by holding her hand or reading aloud. "Luna, we're going to proceed carefully," Lee would respond. "You don't have to rush. One action at a
Time.
Here you're safe." Luna experienced a sense of calm during those times. The energy that Sheila brought, however, was
Distinct.
she was more erratic in her presence, but no less real. Sheila had a dark background full of regrets and
Mistakes.
yet she was fiercely protective of Luna despite her own responsibilities. Sheila put a lot of effort into gaining Luna's trust because she knew she needed to. Instead of overpowering Luna with words, she regularly appeared, perhaps bringing tiny presents or amusing anecdotes. Sheila once softly acknowledged, "I know I'm not perfect, but I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. You are worthy of those who stand up for you." Luna could feel the sincerity in those remarks, which were delivered with unvarnished honesty, and they struck a deep chord with her. As the days went by, Luna started to inquire more about her family, what had happened to her, and the time she had missed. Sheila and Lee provided the most truthful responses they could, taking care to fill in the details without overwhelming her. They clarified that Luna had been in a coma, and that there were numerous causes for it, but that the most crucial thing at this point was to concentrate on getting better. "We clarified that both your body and mind require time to recover. We are available to assist you with both, and will be by your side every step of the way, no matter what," Sheila added. Luna's eyes would occasionally well up with tears of relief at finally having people who genuinely cared for her after all this time, as well as emotions of frustration, despair, and confusion. Through the darkness, she sensed a slender thread of hope starting to emerge. With Lee and Sheila's commitment supporting her, she felt as though she might be able to breathe again after feeling abandoned and lost in the shadows of what had happened to her for so long. Luna sobbed one afternoon, following a particularly tough therapy
session.
The frustration was unbearable, as her legs, which had been weak from months of inactivity, refused to cooperate. Sheila and Lee were there, right away, Sheila putting an arm around Luna's shaking shoulders and Lee gently encouraging her. "It's acceptable to feel afraid," Lee remarked quietly. "You don't have to face this alone. You're stronger than you realize. We're your team now," Sheila continued with a passionate determination. "Luna, we stand up for you, each and every day." For Luna, that was a pivotal time. She started to open up more, expressing her dreams, concerns, and even her rage at the world for moving on without her. She told them about the memories that felt like pieces of a puzzle she was trying to solve and the dreams she had had while in a coma, some of which were hopeful and some of which were haunting. Sheila supplied empathy derived from her own complex
past,
while we listened intently and occasionally provided explanations based on psychology and medicine. Luna's emotional rehabilitation followed the same course as her physical recovery. Sheila and Lee guided her through the ambiguous emotions of sadness and loss, as well as the hesitant joy of rediscovery. They discussed the future, including aspirations, objectives, and second chances. Luna began to envision what her life may be like outside of the hospital. She desired to reestablish her identity, pursue fresh prospects, and reunite with former acquaintances. Sheila and Lee collaborated well to provide Luna with a nurturing atmosphere. They made sure that every facet of Luna's recuperation was taken care of by coordinating with physicians, therapists, and counselors. Beyond the medical treatment, however, they offered something much more important, a feeling of belonging. They rejoiced in every little accomplishment, whether it was a stride taken on their own, a smile that reappeared after being silent for days, or a moment of laughter in the hospital room. Lee and Sheila made sure Luna knew how happy they were of her, and those triumphs were huge. There were, of course, difficult days. There were days when doubt threatened to break Luna's spirit, and her thinking was cloudy. There were times when she was reminded of everything she had lost by the past, which weighed heavily on her.
Lee and
Sheila were anchors back then, in order to assist Luna quiet the tempest inside of her. Lee would frequently sit with her and lead her through breathing exercises, grounding techniques, and
soft chats.
Sheila would remind Luna of her tenacity with her sincere but occasionally feisty demeanor. Sheila once said, "You've been through hell and back on a particularly trying night. However, you remain here.
You're
stronger than you realize." Then Luna gradually started to regain her confidence as well as her physical
strength.
She began to gradually but steadily push herself to go for small walks about the hospital. Sheila was right there at her side, steady and unflinching, and Lee cheered her on at every turn, giving support and praise. Luna, Lee, and Sheila came together as a team, bound together by a shared goal and promise. The environment outside the hospital room was also shifting. Among those who loved Luna, word of her rebirth gently spread, igniting curiosity and hope. Friends, relatives, and allies were curious about Luna's future, and how she would cope. Lee and Sheila were aware that the path ahead would be difficult. They had to deal with unresolved conflicts, unsolved questions, and complex connections.
But
For the time being, they were focused on Luna, her recovery, and keeping their
promise.
After a particularly successful day, Luna once exclaimed, "Thank you," as she gazed up at Lee and Sheila for everything, for continuing to believe in
Me.
They were genuinely moved by the genuineness in her speech. "We said with a kind smile, you don't need to give us credit. We are now family. Family also remains united." Sheila nodded, silent, emotion gleaming in her eyes. "Luna, we made a commitment, and no matter what, we're going to keep it." That pledge served as the cornerstone for all subsequent developments. They experienced both successes and failures, periods of uncertainty and happiness. With love, patience, and unwavering devotion, they managed the difficulties of Luna's recuperation. Luna became stronger as a result of everything, not only physically but also emotionally and spiritually. Lee and Sheila assisted Luna in getting ready for the next phase of her life, which involved leaving the hospital and re-entering the outside world. As her days stretched into weeks and months, they discussed re-establishing relationships, creating new memories, and getting back in touch with individuals from her past. Luna shared her worries about the future, but she also said she was determined to live life to the fullest once more.
Lee
Reassured her that they would support her at every turn. Sheila pledged to keep her safe and to support her through any difficulties that might arise. Luna inhaled deeply and gazed at both women as the sun shone in the hospital room one afternoon, bathing it in golden
light.
"I'm afraid," she said. "However, I'm prepared. I'd want to give it a shot." We grabbed her hand and gave it a light squeeze. "We have faith in you, Luna, and we will accompany you at every turn." Sheila grinned with a peculiar gentleness that conveyed a lot.
You're
"No longer by yourself.
We've got you covered."
With love, support, and unfailing promise all around her, Luna experienced a deep feeling of hope at that precise moment. Even though the future was unknown, she knew she had found something priceless, a family that would support her through the best and worst days, and she had never dared to expect for more than that. Sheila Lee